How's it going, everybody? My name's Avid. Have you ever wished you had super weapons in Minecraft without any of those pesky mods? Well, I have the answer for you in this video. Today, we are gonna go over 10 super weapons that you can make on your own, only using command blocks. Let's get started. So the first 3 super weapons that we're gonna go over are super arrows. We have the Bolt of the Gods, we have Bolt of Light, and Bolt of the Void. Let's go see how they work. So this cave is going to be a perfect testing ground for these super powered weapons. Let's take a look at how they work. So the first one that I'm going to show off here is the Bolt of Light. Have you ever been in a cave system and you want to just see what it looks like over in that direction? Well, now you can. When you shoot this arrow, it places a torch on the surface that it lands. Minecraft honestly could really use this feature because look at just how sweet it is. If I wanted to just place an arrow and light up and, you know, what's it look like over there? Hey, now I know. Pretty cool. Okay, it looks like we have some trouble here, so let's use the Bolt of the Gods to take care of these guys. Oh, that was a terrible idea. Well, I was eventually able to take care of them, but they were supercharged. I would not recommend using the Bolt of the Gods on creepers. Let's take a look at the very last arrow here, which is called Bolt of the Void. And the way this works is any items that are nearby it, it's going to suck those items to it, so it's easy for us to pick them up. How cool is that? And you know what? While we're down here, we might as well use our 4th super weapon to get out and get home safely. And before we get into how these arrows work, I highly recommend you check out my command block basics tutorial, so that way you get an idea of what these command blocks do and how they actually work. But for those who do know a lot about command blocks or know a little bit about command blocks, this should be super simple for you. So let's get right into it. So the very first arrow here, the Bolt of the Gods, is really simple. We just look to see if there is an arrow with that particular yellow color sticking in the ground. And if it is, we continuously summon lightning bolts around it using this repeating command block. Then we have a comparator and a delay. Based on how much delay you have is how many lightning bolts will be spawned. And after that delay is passed through, we then delete that item of that color in the ground, that arrow right there. Now the Bolt of Light is also pretty simple. It doesn't require any redstone. Essentially, we look to see if, again, a white arrow is in the ground, and then we check around that arrow to see if there are any blocks that are not air. And if that is true, then we place a torch in the appropriate facing direction. That's actually why we need to have so many command blocks here, because we do a check on each of the cardinal directions and the ground to make sure there's a place where we can actually put the torch. So actually pretty simple here. We just do a set block command for the torch. The very last command here, the void arrow, is also pretty simple, and all we do is look for a purple tipped arrow. You're probably starting to get an idea of how these arrows actually work. They're all really, really simple. But basically, we look for that purple arrow. And if there is a purple arrow in the ground, we teleport all items 50 blocks away to the arrow. We then spawn in some particles to make it look really cool if items are found. And then if the items are found, we then destroy that arrow afterwards, because I feel like that arrow is pretty OP and you should not be able to just reuse it over and over again. Okay, so we already saw the magic mirror, and it's pretty simple. There we go. So the magic mirror, the way that it works is we look for if the player has a selected item. Right here. And if the item with this particular NBT tag is selected, we spawn a whole bunch of N-Rod particles around them and make it look really pretty and flashy. Woo! And then what we do is we have a couple ticks of delay in case players want to cancel. See, if I'm not holding it, I can cancel. I don't want to use the magic mirror. I just was switching to it in my inventory. And then the very last command here actually executes that teleport command if the player is still holding that item. All right, so the next 2 items I would also call utility items, and they are our magic wands. We have the Wand of Time and the Wand of Weather. And if we notice, our sun is about to set, so let's actually grab the Wand of Time here and put it in our offhand to get ourselves back to daytime. Okay, good. But you know what, actually, I kind of liked that setting sun. Let's take a look at the sunset again, but switch it into our main hand. Ah, how nice. And the Wand of Weather is basically identical. When you're holding the Wand of Weather in your main hand, it's going to switch it to Thunderstorm. And then when you switch it to your offhand, it's going to clear the weather. And you can see these command blocks are already working. And honestly, these commands are just as easy as the magic mirror. We just look, this repeating command block here looks for if the player is holding the item in their main hand and has the item selected, spawns a couple of particles, and then this actually runs the time set night. So this is the command for the Wand of Time. Then this one looks to see if the wand is in the player's offhand, and that's done by checking if it is in their inventory with the particular slot -106B. And if that's getting too technical for you, then don't worry, I won't start spouting numbers again, but that's the basic idea, is we check to see if it's in the player's offhand. Then we spawn some more particles, and then we set it to day. Wand of Weather works exactly the same. So we have Thunderstorm here, and then we have Clear, and it really is a cool way to check if the player has the item in their offhand or in their main hand. And they actually work together too. So if I'm to switch them off, we're gonna go to daytime, and then we're gonna have raining, or you know what, we're gonna do nighttime, and we're going to have clear. How cool is that? I love this idea. So imagine you have a cyberpunk city on your adventure map server, and there are these 6G towers that can give you special abilities, but you have to have a certain item in your inventory, like an antenna or a SIM card, in order to get access to those abilities. That's exactly what this 6G antenna does. So these two commands here basically control the powers and checking if you have this item in your inventory. So you don't even need to have the item attached to your main hand or your offhand. Just by having it in your inventory is enough. And you also get this really cool message that says your 6G antenna has picked up a signal. Now, honestly, this command is dead simple, but the hardest part was figuring out how to get that message to come through. Overall, it's pretty simple. We basically just check if the player has a particular active effect, which is the speed boost, and then we also check if the player has the stick in their inventory. Then if the player has the stick in the inventory, we give them speed boost. And so the cool thing about that is then that message is only going to be printed one time, because now the player has speed boost, so they're not going to see it again. So once I lose speed boost here, then I pick up the antenna again, I pick up a signal from the nearby tower. How cool is that? Imagine if you had these towers all over your server and players had to buy this connectivity item to get access to those abilities. All right, so this next weapon might actually be one of my favorites, mainly because it explodes. So we are going to take a quick look here at the Volatile Trident, which essentially is like a trident that has channeling, but instead of channeling anything, it'll explode on impact. So that is pretty sweet. So let's get the time set over to day here, and then get our trident out and see if we can find any willing test subjects. All right, looks like we have a couple of sheep, so we are going to give this a shot here, and yes! And now if we want to collect all the items on the ground, we'll just shoot one of our void arrows, and now we can get all of our good stuff. See now how these items synergize? It's actually really cool, and it would be awesome to have all of these items in the base game or some kind of variation of it. All right, so imagine if you had a wooden sword with the special ability to summon a sword from the sky that is crazy overpowered and, you know, can hack through enemies, but only lasts a little bit of time until it disappears. That's exactly what this weapon is here. So if we go out into the field and we find a couple more willing subjects, these sheep will probably do again, sorry buds, and we just hold out our sky sword somewhere, which is right there, and now we have the true sky sword, which has all these crazy properties like sharpness 10, smite 10, fire aspect 10, and we can go and take care of all of these sheep. After a certain amount of time, this sword is going to disappear on us. We have a timer, and there it goes, where we spawn an item just above this cobweb. And when the item falls down through the cobweb and hits this pressure plate, it runs this command here, which runs the clear command and removes the sky sword, the true sky sword, from my inventory. Now, another thing that we do is we spawn an item on this pressure plate, which depowers this repeating command block. And what that acts as is a cooldown, so you can only run the sky sword once every 5 minutes or so. Pretty cool to have that kind of cooldown effect, though I will say the sky sword got a little more complicated than I was expecting, because you end up having to manage all of these timers and all of these states, and it's just not something that is really easy to do with Minecraft commands. All right, I think I saved the best for last, which is the Smoldering Rod. If you have ever used a fishing rod as a weapon, then you know they're not very good, but this one is totally different. So the way this one works is it checks to see if the bobber is attached to an enemy. And if the bobber is attached, the enemy's gonna light, oh no, is gonna light on fire and then explode, as you can see there. Let's go try this out on actual enemies down in the caves. So rather than destroying our own stuff, let's take care of some guys who actually deserve it. So all you have to do is throw the rod at a creeper and they light on fire, right? How cool. And then when you pull away from the creeper, boom. Oh man, honestly, it works so well. I mean, look at this thing. Imagine if you were playing like a game, like a PvP game, and you could pull players and then explode them like that. And you know, like once you get hooked, you're like, oh no, I know what's about to happen, and boom. Boom! That is the coolest weapon ever. And now let's collect our loot here. Very good. Nice. After putting back together our little command center here, I will quickly just go over how this works. So essentially what we do is we check to see if there is a player holding the Smoldering Rod. And if that's the case, then we have this repeating command block that checks if there is a bobber within an enemy, any player basically that, or any entity that is not the player. And we set that entity on fire by using the data merge command. The next thing that we do is we tag that entity with this tag called Smoldering Rod Primed. And then the very last command here, as you can imagine, takes care of the explosion. And the way that works is we basically say any enemy who is tagged with the Smoldering Rod Primed tag, then we are going to summon TNT if there is not a bobber near them. So when the bobber gets pulled away, we're constantly checking to see if that is a condition, and then we summon TNT right on that enemy, and boom, they explode. It is literally the coolest weapon I think I have ever come up with, and it's a fishing rod. Hi, don't make me use this. I'm shooting a video. So that'll just about do it for today, folks. I want to thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. If you like this content, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like button. And if you want to see more of this content in the future, I'd absolutely love if you subscribed. I put out new videos every single week. And if you want to see some crazy command block contraption, or you want to know what's possible, leave me a comment. I'll make it. Give me a shot. Really challenge me, honestly. So until next time, I'll see you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.